Good morning everyone. It is morning 10:11. As promised, we'll have a little go at bringing this plant back to life. Well, hopefully bringing it back to life. I showed this the other day. I was pointing out that everything's soft. It's not rotted, it's just lack of moisture getting up the vascular bundles and getting into the leaves. Now the problem is the main stem, which is this part here, the main stem from the base, is soft and it's dead. So we'll start off by removing it. We chop it off, and as can be seen, it is completely dead. The vascular bundles or the veins within the stem are dead, they're gone, they're black. So we've got to go back to either clean tissue or, which is probably better, treat each growth as a cutting. So I'll move that out the way and see what we can do. Got to rearrange this to get it in the right spot as I've moved that. There we are. I can work on it that way. Here we have the remains of the plant, virtually dead. Now what I'm going to do is to cut the main pieces that are alive, or at least still alive. Got a good pair of secateurs. Don't ask me where I got them from. I think you might all know by now. 90% of my stuff comes from boot cells, and this was no exception. The plant, however, I've had for many years. It's a Mitrophytum or a conophyllum. Mitrophyllum refers to the fact that two of the leaves are in the shape of a bishop's mitre. Might remember one of the heart valves is called the mitral valve, and that's got two leaves which are also in the shape of the bishop's hat, mitre. Sorry about going off subject. You might guess I do like the sound of my own voice. Now what we do, we can cut these off, leaving a bit of stem. I won't cut them all off now, take too long, but as you can see, the end of that stem is lovely and green. There's the actual growth. I took one off earlier. It's really just a case of taking them off where you can, where it's down to sound tissue. Cutting them off, not cutting your fingers at the same time. You either stick them down to one or a little group of them. It's surprising how awkward it is trying to keep in camera and doing it at the same time. But at least using a tripod, a very nice tripod actually. There's one I had from Sarah, I've got two. This is one that's got on it Ferguson Video Star, so that names it, because Video Star was one of the first video recorders that came out. And I suppose if you were taking your own films and that in those days. This was obviously before YouTube. It's quite a good tripod. Very handy for the job. Anyhow, that is what is left of all the old bits that I've taken off. Put this aside. Now, you would then have to clean these up the best as you could. What you want to get is remove any dead material before pushing it into a propagating area. Now, we can not jump to there, but I can say what will be done. Each one, and this is an example of one of them, has, in theory, has to callus. That means you form a skin on that cut surface, so that when you put it into a seed tray or somewhere slightly moist, or silver sand. I know someone used to use silver sand. He had very good results. I can remember him many years ago. Poor old Jack Brown. He was one of the real old timers in the game, and I learnt a lot from him. He showed me how to root the conophytums. This I know is a conophyllum, but conophytums by more or less removing any stem whatsoever and rooting it in pure silver sand. Anyhow, please excuse me, I'm wandering off the subject again. How I do this is, as I say, we'll callus that for perhaps a day or so, and then all I then do is stick that into about 1/2 inch. Now the compost I use, and this is the benefit because people have asked me what compost I use John Innes number 3. Now I know John Innes is available in England. I don't know about America, Australia, the Far East. I just don't know. You'd have to find out what the actual equivalent is, or the type of compost you would buy. But I use John Innes. I use number 3. 3 means it's got 3 times the amount of fertiliser in it. It can vary. I have bought John Innes from one large chain store, which I'm not allowed to say, and the stuff was complete rubbish. In fact, it had fungus spores in it, and it was not very good. So, you know, once you've found a good source of this, then stick to it. It's the only real way. Now, some people mix coarse grit. You can do this, nothing wrong in that. And they normally put it in 1/2 and 1/2. So if you say had and I'll grab a convenient tumbler or glass which was at hand, and if you're doing it 1/2 and 1/2, you'd fill that up with your compost and then empty it out, and then fill this up again with the coarse grit, and then thoroughly mix it in a mixing pan, which I haven't got here at the moment, and that is your compost. It does aid good drainage, but I suppose I'm lazy. I just get trays and pop the stuff in. 2 chances. Most times they grow, so no problems. So anyhow, having a little rethink, the cuttings, which I've taken some already, not all of them yet, but some of them, we'll dry them out. The ends are clean, they're green, and once they've calloused, we'll pop them into the soil up to about 1/2 an inch. Put them in the greenhouse. They don't need heat, well, not at this stage they don't. although we are becoming a bit frosty in the mornings, so obviously to keep an eye on that. And I just water them in, and hopefully they will produce roots. I can't show you any roots yet because it hasn't had time, but they would be formed at the ends. They're like the continuation, if you like, of the vascular bundles. That's the little minute tubes that go up and into the plant itself. Well, as I say, any questions please ask. I'll try and get back to you. I find it easier doing it this way than actually having to use the keypad. To me, I suppose I just love talking. Probably talk too much. If I have, I do apologise. Anyhow, once again, thanks for looking. Any questions please ask. I'll try and get back to you, and hopefully any cuttings you do should be successful. I know I've just covered these at the moment. There's numerous other things you can take cuttings of. A lot of them are actually on YouTube now. I notice Echeveria leaves, they normally will produce plantlets very, very easily. I think there's some that may be a bit tricky. I think Lowii is a bit tricky. But anyhow, more about that at a later date. So once again, thanks for watching, and I'm out. Thank you.